Hello you guys, this is Jayska from Madame and Estate's YouTube channel, and I figured I would make a really short video here talking about relationships with family members like uncles and aunts and stuff. This is pertaining to my uncle on my mother's side that just passed away about a week and a half ago. He used to be an ex-cop. I won't say his name on here, but always like when I was a child, we'll start from there. When I was a child growing up and stuff, I always liked him. I always thought he was a nice uncle or whatever. He was always kind of like joking around with us and stuff like that, cracking jokes and stuff. And then I never really did have like a tight relationship with him or anything until probably about the year 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. I started getting close to him, and I also started getting close to a couple other of my aunts on my mother's side at the same time. And around 2014 and about 2015, I wasn't parts of it anyways, not like the whole year of 2014 or nothing, but parts of 2014 and parts of 2015. I had gotten a physical fight with my mother, and it was over a bunch of stuff, and this was one of the times when I was actually completely single too, from my ex-husband. Like, I didn't go back and forth in a relationship with him or nothing. And I had both of my daughters, like custody of both of my daughters during that time. They were living with me. And anyways, I had gotten a fight with I was spending a lot of time being single, and I was kind of like trying to live it up, the single life, as far as being a single woman goes. This was before I had breast cancer, and so I was on social medias to find a man. I was on dating sites. I was on a dating site called Plenty of Fish, and I talked to lots of different men online on that dating site. And anyways, because I didn't have my own electronics or nothing, I would go over at my mom's. My dad, she was living at my dad's. They're still married, but anyways, they were living together at the time. And I would go over there a lot of times. My youngest daughter was probably about 3 or 4 years old back then, back in 2014. And I would go over there, and a lot of times I would just go over there and and sit on her. They had an iPad, and I would sit on their iPad and talk to different men and stuff that I was interested in. That's all I would do, is talk to them and stuff. I didn't do anything like sexually or anything like that. I would just talk to them. I was trying to form relationships and stuff. I was trying to find me somebody to be with, and I was trying to move on in my life. And I met most of them from that dating site at the time called Plenty of Fish. And I met a few of the other ones from, that's whenever Facebook came out with like dating on their site. And so I met some of them from there, and I would just add them as my friend on like Facebook. and continue to talk to them or whatever. Now, some of the guys would like, because it's just the way some people are, they would send me like, you know, stuff like nudes and stuff, you know. But I never did partake in any of that. But anyways, I got accused of it though, and I was kind of being selfish at that time. For the first time in my life, I was kind of being selfish because, like I said, I wanted to move on in my life. I wanted to find somebody. I didn't want to have to go back to my ex. And so I think that was around the same year, like the coal mining businesses, for the most part, the one that my dad was working for, that's the one that his company was going down. It was like shutting down completely, and he wasn't going to work for him no more. He was just going to go into retirement. He was like 59 or 58 years old or something. Hey, Nacho. But anyways, um, so a lot of times what he would do, my dad, he would like go to work, and as soon as he got back off from work, he would expect, because he was addicted to it too. He had started his own Facebook account, and he was addicted to social media, and my mom was addicted to social media too, even though she never admitted it or nothing. And I think we all was addicted to Facebook and social media to a point or whatever. And anyways, so my mom, she wanted to lay on it all the time. My mom was never like the housewifey type person. She was never like, she wanted to cook or clean or really take care of her children. She didn't even really want to have children. And I found that out. I'll talk about that in a different time and a different story. But um, anyways, she just, I think she was kind of jealous, and I just believe she was kind of jealous over me, her daughter. I don't think she ever liked me. I don't think she ever wanted to have me. And I think she was jealous that here I was kind of, in a way, trying to get the lifestyle that she deep down really probably secretly always wanted. She always wanted to be like a single woman and stuff. And they couldn't stand it because really they didn't even get along that great then. Whenever I was on their iPads and stuff, they didn't want to spend time with each other or nothing like that. They just wanted to be on social media. That's when Facebook really was like taking off around here, was about that year. Like everybody wanted to be on Facebook and be nosy. My mom's always been really into like taking pictures, and she's always been like really into her family. I'm not talking about her children. I'm talking about her siblings. She came from a family of 12. There was or actually 14. There was there was 6 girls, and she was one of the 6 girls, and there were 6 boys in her family. But she was always, even though you wouldn't call them like a close family or nothing, because there was always somebody in that family that was feuding, and they had their mom and their dad. But and then one of the boys did not make it at birth, and then one of the girls did not make it about a month or so after being born, and one of the boys didn't make it maybe like about a week or so or something after being born, from what I remember. But so 2 of them died in like when they were babies or whatever, of her siblings. And then the rest is obviously died over the years and their old age and different things. But anyways, my mom always wanted to, even though she complained about her family, and she said at times she said that she couldn't stand them, and she would call them different names and act certain ways. She was always real, like she would say something and then she would change her mind the next. Real bipolarish or swishy swashy about the way she does things. It never added up. That's how my mother's always been. and stuff when it comes to anything in life, really. It's like she'll say one thing and then she'll completely deny it, like that she'll even say it or do it. She just acts like that person, like me or whoever else, is crazy, like it didn't happen or whatever. And she's always gotten by with it. From my relationships in the past with her other siblings, um, whenever I got close to them and stuff, they all said the same thing about my mom. When I'd ask about how it was about her, like growing up and stuff, they would always say, my mom was not the pick. I have another uncle who was like, I think he was like the baby, and he was always the pick. He was always the pick, the boy. That's what happens a lot of times too here, especially with older generations here in Appalachia and or the Appalachian Mountains or whatever, the mountainous areas where I live at, Eastern Kentucky or whatever. So my uncle, he was like one of the babies, or if not the baby or whatever. And a lot of times too, the mother and the father, like, they just spoiled him to death, and he was their favorite. And that uncle is actually still alive, and I'm not close to that uncle, and I'll talk about that. I mean, I'll talk to him and stuff, and he'll talk to me, but we're not close or nothing, you know. And really, we haven't ever really been close or nothing. But I'll talk about why is that I'm not so close to him in a different video. I won't talk about that in this video. I'm really trying to make this a short video. But anyways, because I really want to get to it, to the other uncle that I have that just recently passed away. But anyways, back to my mom. Well, that youngest brother of her, different one, he's still alive or whatever. He was always everybody's pick, everybody's favorite, everybody spoiled him. He was like the top dog of the family. And so they came of a family of 12 brothers and sisters, six brothers, or whatever. And so, like, a lot of times what happened is if the mother and father didn't provide for him or whatever, the older brothers, because it was a male thing, they always thought like men were top dogs and dominant or whatever. And so a lot of the older brothers that had went away from here in Eastern Kentucky to like northern Ohio or whatever, to get better jobs, like at the time when factories were doing better or whatever you could say, and to better themselves and their families, where my uncle, the younger one that was still alive, they would send him like gifts and stuff, and they wouldn't buy nothing for nobody else. And so there was a lot of favoritism, I would say, that went on in that family. But what my aunts and my uncles that I was close to or gotten close to over the years, I'm not close to no more because, well, a couple of them that I was close to, they passed on. So that's why with them. And then I'll tell you in a minute about the other ones. But anyways, I was always my mother's side of the family, even though my mother hasn't been like that to me, my mother's side of the family has always, always been more accepting of me. All of them have. My aunts and uncles and stuff. They've always, always, in the past, they would always just treat me better. Even like the married wives or whatever of my mother's side of the family, or husbands or whatever, they would always, mostly wives or whatever, but anyways, they would always treat me better than what my mother would, or even my dad's side of the family or whatever. Excuse me, my voice is kind of hoarse, y'all, too. That's kind of why I'm making this video too here on the camera or whatever, and not doing a different video today. But so anyways, I forgot where I was at, guys. I should have wrote this all down and I didn't. Oh, they said that my mom was kind of spoiled of the girls, as much as the girl could be spoiled. She was kind of one of the younger ones, and she wasn't the baby, but she was one of the younger ones. And she always was like, they said that she was real, she had a real bad personality whenever they was growing up with her, like when she was a teenager and stuff, because she was always real spoilt, like as spoilt as much as she could be for being one of the girls. And my mom's parents, my grandparents and stuff, would always kind of spoil her too. But my mom must have had a real bad attitude. She always, and I know my mom's even told me this, that she would keep to herself a lot. But I think that my mom was mean about it, not just keeping to herself or being shy or awkward or nothing. I think she was doing it because she thought she was, even then when she was living with them and she was a teenager. My perception that I got off from the way that my aunts would talk about her and my uncle who lived with her and stuff growing up as a teenager, not just my perception, that it wasn't because she was insecure or shy or none of that. The reason she wanted to be like a loner or kept alone and stayed in her bedroom by herself and stuff like that and just kind of spoilt like or whatever, it was because she thought she was better than everybody and her family, and she didn't want to be around them. And two, it was because she was spoiled. It was because that they did kind of like not put her through as much as one of the females growing up as compared to some of my other aunts or whatever, her sisters and stuff. And then one time too, there's this story, and it's the truth and stuff. My mom has admitted to it before. One time when they was growing up, I think this was still like when they was real young, like when they was in the I could be wrong, but I think it was whenever they was going to, or maybe they just had to walk from that school bus or whatever too. But and that's my cat Nacho, by the way, guys. But anyways, I think it might have been when she was 16, so I could be wrong on that. Sorry to say when she was younger, but I think she started working at the courthouse when she was young, and she worked there as like a person that types everything you're saying back then. I don't know if they still do that or not, but she used to do that, and she used to work also in the county records department, like where they keep up with deeds and your housing information, your marriage certificates, stuff like that. That's the section she used to work at, kind of like as a secretary. She worked there underneath of a person, and he's still alive. That man's really old, but he's really known and stuff in my county that I live out here in Letcher County in eastern Kentucky. And I don't care to say his name. His name is Winston Mead. And he also used to dabble into, he used to be like kind of like a veterinarian or something on the side. Or I don't know, he might have went to school for it. But I know he used to have all kinds of animals and stuff out. He had like a trailer that he would do his veterinarian thing out of. I think that's where he used to live at, somewhere up around, I think it was Neon. But I've not went to him or nothing for no reason in years or nothing. But he used to work in the courthouse too, and I forgot what his position. Oh, I know what his position used to be. Years and years ago, he used to be like the county coroner. He would go to wherever and pronounce when people were dead or unalived or whatever. That's what used to be his job title. But he's not done that in years. I think he's in retirement, obviously, probably now. But I don't know. I think he still does, or he has the option to. I don't know how it works, but I think he still works or does something with the courthouse. I just don't know what. But I know he's a really old man, but he still is alive or whatever. But, anyways, my mom used to work underneath of him in the courthouse or whatever, kind of like a secretary, and that's some of the stuff that she would do. And I think she started working when she was like 16 or 17 years old or something like that. Well, anyways, back to her family and stuff. She had sisters, and when she started working and stuff And I guess around the same time she started dating my dad. I don't really know for sure. But she started, I guess, earning her own money. And she grew up in a poor family. They was all poor, but a lot of people was poor back then. It was nothing unusual. Like, even like people that had money back then, you probably wouldn't never notice it too much because pretty much everyone's poor to a certain degree back then. But they still had stuff even though they were poor and stuff. Anyways, and then too, I know a lot of times whenever I used to talk to her sisters and stuff, and my uncle, her brother, they would tell me that around the time that my mother was still a teenager, they had these things called commodities. It's kind of like what food stamps is today, but it was for lower income or poor people. And I think that they started getting commodities around the time when she was a teenager and stuff. And so, like her and a lot of my other younger aunts and uncles, which most of them, besides one, the boy, the one that was spoiled or whatever, he's the only one that's alive. Actually, my aunts and stuff have passed on. So, anyways, anyone under the age of my mother or whatever has already passed on pretty much, besides the one uncle or whatever. But all of them got to use those commodities, and like they didn't have to suffer or go without food or nothing. But I've heard a lot of stories of like my older aunts, and I do have one of them that's still alive. And then I've heard other stories of my other uncles and stuff that one of them, well, they've all passed on, the ones that I was close to or whatever. But I do have one older uncle that's still alive too, but he doesn't live around here. He lives in Ohio. Anyways, though, I've heard stories whenever I was close to them about how they would starve growing up because they came from a poor family. And my aunt, the one that's still alive, the older one, she would make sure she's always had a kind heart when it came to stuff like that. I do give that woman credit for that. But she would be the type of person, she would not, especially she was close to her dad, probably closer to her dad than her mom. And she's a hard-working woman too, and I give her that. But anyways, she would not let her dad go without and starve or nothing. And my mom's dad, um, he used to, I think he used to work in the coal mines back whenever they used like pickaxes and stuff. And I remember other people told me stories, and it was actually, we'll just call him the husband, even though he wasn't on paperwork, the husband to my aunt when she got remarried or whatever. But back whenever I used to hang out with my aunt and her husband, go up to whenever they still lived up the road from me in the house that my mom owns now. And I got close to my aunt, and anyways, we'd talk about stuff like this, and they would tell me stories. They said that my mom's dad used to would feed a donkey. I don't know why, but they used to keep a donkey around in the coal mines or around the coal mines. And I think horses too. So I mean that was like a long time ago. Whenever companies used to still use like they would feed, they would get my grandpa, my mom's dad, like to pay him, and it wasn't that much money. I don't remember how much. It was in change. How much money he worked for a day. So that was a long time ago. But I think the phone went off. I was recording.